Back in now drizzly Sarajevo, this is Josh Friedman reporting to you on the day after Election Day in Bosnia. As is often the case here, things got a little odd, but I think we have a clearer picture now as to what the results are. The results are not yet official, but the results are basically in. And we're going to focus on the presidential race. As a reminder, Bosnia elects not one, not two, but three presidents, and it appears that we have three different winners in the presidential race. We're basically going to ignore the regional and parliamentary races now. This election was really all about the presidential race. To put things in very simplistic terms, what appears to have happened is that the Serb and Bosniak nationalists won, while the Croat nationalists lost. I will explain. So, in the race for the Serb seat in Bosnia's three-seat presidency, the biggest man or biggest name in the race, maybe biggest man too, Milorad Dodik emerged victorious. Dodik won despite the seeming groundswell of opposition that was rising in Republika Srpska. It does not appear that the protest movement was enough to drive Dodik out of office. He emerged victorious in the race for the Serb seat in Bosnia's presidency, and Dodik is saying that he's going to vouch for Serb interests. Whether he does something more than that, whether he attempts to break up the country as some people has warned, that remains to be seen, although I think, at least for now, that's a bit unlikely. Moving on to the Bosniak seat. The longtime ruling party among Bosniaks, the SDA, they got their candidate elected. Šefik Jaferović won the Bosniak seat. Jaferović did not win in a landslide. It appears that he emerged victorious by about 4% over the next contender. Nonetheless, he won. The SDA, which is effectively a Bosniak nationalist party that's been in control of Bosniak politics, that being Bosnian Muslim politics, for the past few decades. They remain in power. Izetbegović turns over the Bosniak seat in the presidency to Jaferović, but some people still think that, as I mentioned yesterday, Izetbegović will control things from behind the scenes. Now, the biggest story, and what might be overlooked in some regards by people in the international press, is what happened in the race for the Croat seat in the presidency. So, the incumbent candidate, Dragan Čović, who is the leader of the Croat Nationalist Party, HDZ, which is basically the ruling Croat party and is backed by Croatia. Anyway, Čović lost. He was defeated by a former Croat president named Željko Komšić. Komšić is described as a moderate, as not being a nationalist, and wanting to kind of trying to put aside some of the ethnic and nationalist divisions and work to build up Bosnia as this multi-ethnic country that it is. That's kind of how he's viewed and kind of how his platform is viewed. Now, the controversy appears to lie in how Komšić got elected. By the way, he previously served 2 terms as the Croat member of Bosnia's presidency. So he's not a nobody, but he's not really backed by the Croat political establishment in Bosnia, and in fact, he might not even be backed by a majority of Croat voters at all. What his defeated rival Čović is saying is that it was actually Bosniaks, not Croats, who got Komšić elected. And from looking at the preliminary results, it appears that that might be the case. So in the federation is the Croat, the Bosniak Croat controlled entity. In the federation, voters don't have to vote for a presidential candidate of their ethnicity. Basically, Croat voters can choose between a Croat or Bosniak candidate, and Bosniak voters can choose between a Bosniak or Croat candidate. I know this is getting a little confusing to some people who don't live in Bosnia or are not familiar with the political situation here, but yesterday the voters here in the Federation could choose only one candidate for president, but that candidate could be Croat or could be Bosniak. And what appears to have happened is that a lot of Bosniak voters did not vote for a Bosniak candidate, but rather voted for a Croat candidate, and that candidate was Komšić, who emerged victorious in the race for the Croat seat in the presidency. Now, why were Bosniaks voting for a Croat candidate? A couple potential reasons arise. One, these might be more moderate, secular Bosniaks who support Komšić's platform. Another reason could be that they're trying to stop Čović from regaining the seat and from trying to move forward with this call for there being a third entity in Bosnia, that being a Croat entity. It appears that this talk of Komšić being elected predominantly by Bosniaks might have some truth to it, in that I was looking at the preliminary results released for the Mostar region, and Mostar is a city that's split between, literally split, but that's for another video, I've covered that in the past. Mostar is split between Croats and Bosniaks, but it's basically the core of the Croat population in Bosnia, and the preliminary results seem to show that Čović, who lost to Komšić, received about double the amount of votes that Komšić received in Mostar. So yeah, it does appear that Bosniaks were playing a key role in Komšić, the more moderate candidate, defeating Čović, the Croat nationalist candidate, in the race for the Croat seat in the presidency. Now, this has significant implications in that Čović responded, he conceded, but he said this is going to trigger a political crisis in Bosnia, and it very much could, because his party, the HDZ, if they choose to do so, could boycott parliament at both the regional and state level. And if that were to be the case, basically the government would get nothing done, which some people might like. But on the other hand, if there were to be a boycott, or if the Croat party HDZ were to completely block all legislation from moving forward in the parliament, then that would put a halt or significantly slow down Bosnia's already slow Western integration process and the already very slow process of Bosnia moving toward NATO and EU membership. So as a whole, Dodik, the controversial pro-Russian, largely anti-Western figure, the Serb leader, he's retained power and arguably has more power now He's a member of Bosnia's 3-seat presidency, and there could be a significant clash between the Croat and Bosniak communities based on the results of the Croat race. So there could be a lot of ethnic division coming in, or a lot of ethnic division remaining, despite these protests over murders that were supposedly bridging the ethnic divide here in Bosnia. So interesting developments, confusing as usual, but I hope you understood this. And if you are still confused, or you'd like more explanation or coverage of this political system and the electoral system here in Bosnia, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you. So it's starting to rain fairly hard again. I'm going to call this a wrap. This is an end to my 2018 election coverage from Bosnia. Ciao from Sarajevo.